The Department of Mineral and Petroleum Resources, alongside the Central Energy Fund, currently launching the South African National Petroleum Company in Sandton. In fact, the minister is currently speaking, Gwede Mantashe. Let's listen in.
Some of the things, yeah, but people don't know that I'm old. You see. And there's one reason for that. I'm handsome. Now, because I'm handsome, people think that I'm young. I'm not young. I'm an old man, but just handsome. So I can predict that we are going to have oil and gas growing in terms of demand in our lifetime. I can't predict what will happen to other generations. Our generation, almost everybody in this room, will see growing demand for oil and gas in our lifetime. That's why the drive for electrical vehicles took everybody by surprise. All of a sudden, the drive is for hybrid vehicles. It's not by accident. It's because developing a technology requires you to check its reliance and its resilience and its reliability as you develop, before you dismantle your old technology. That's how it works. That's the basic principle. Otherwise, you are going to have net zero, as you have seen in Portugal and Spain. They had a net zero. There was no emission, but unfortunately, there was also no electricity. So they did what I always cautioned ourselves against, this thing of wanting to breathe fresh air in darkness. It doesn't work in real life. So you are going to use oil and gas, we're going to use coal for the foreseeable future. Now with the advent of carbon capture, use and storage, we are striving for cleaner coal technologies. And that project in Leandra, we finished the first phase, we're going to the second phase now, is going to extend the life of use of coal in the economy. Now, so, to this end, SANPC is expected to oversee strategic planning, coordination and governance of the country's petroleum resources. Renewables later. Okay. Petroleum resources. For people who are not in the sector, they think that petroleum is something else. Petroleum is oil and gas, in simple terms. So that is what we're looking for you. Please do look for strategic partnerships internationally, because other countries have experience, access that experience, tap into it. The local refining capacity is also quite critical. So reviving PetroSA is important. SAPREF is important. And therefore, if there are people who want to partner with us in either in Mossel Bay or in SAPREF in Durban, please talk to Moagi and the team here. Talk to them. Because we're open for business, we're open for partnerships, we're open for people who want to invest, but don't want to take the asset away from us. I'm a great believer of developing and growing state capacity. I believe in that because I always tell people a weak state is an irritation to itself, as an irritation even to the private sector. The state must be strong enough and be able to engage the private sector as a strong state. A weak state is an irritation. That's my belief. Now, since 2009, South Africa has experienced 11% year-on-year growth in import of fuel relative to local market production is because refineries have been closed. And our view is that those refineries must be made to work, and we must actually develop our own refining capacity. Now, having said that, it is important to ensure that we have good governance. Good governance. I always explain this thing, good governance, in a way that people always question me. I say good governance is a very critical component of reducing both operational and financial risks. If you have a problem of governance, that entity is going to run into all sorts of problems. We have just received an entity from another department called Alexcor. Yeah, called Alexcor. And we get that entity, one, it is on disclaimer in terms of audit outcomes. And we looked into it, the first thing that we noticed was that there was no governance. A board there was renewed for 3 years without being appointed as a permanent board. That's why we moved and appointed a board as the first step. Last week we went there to look into managerial structure and we have views that we've expressed. I'm not going to talk about them here. But governance reduces both operational and financial risks. And we're putting a lot of emphasis on that. So it is quite important to us to continue doing that. We are particularly pleased with the progress made by the transfer of employees and assets. 402, that's too small a number. We must see more progress on that. They are all from 3 entities. That means that the challenge is to create new jobs. On top of that 402, must create new jobs. Now, having said that, I want to make this last point for me. To me, any entity to succeed or collapse is a function of leadership. Weak leadership collapse entities. Strong leadership strengthen entities. And that leadership have few components to it. A vision. A vision. A vision is something that looks very abstract, but it's about clarifying yourself and knowing where you want to go. Where do you want to be? When? That vision. And that vision must do few things. It must inspire the team. Okay. It must keep the team together. It must make the team have a desire to deliver on the expectations of the entity. Now I'm talking to leadership here. Sometimes leaders find themselves in a situation where they get threatened by skills around them. Good leaders appoint good skills around them, even better skills. Because if you appoint better skills around you, you are creating an environment where you stand on the shoulders of the skilled team and you shine. So that leadership must be inspiring. It must unite the team. It must build the team. Now, then we all have common objective. Where do you want to go with South African National Petroleum Company? All of us must say the same. It doesn't matter who you meet, must say the same message. That is the beauty of going to China. If you go to China, you'll meet a member of the Politburo. There the party is very strong. They will give you this message. You go down to branches there and you talk to them, message same. Okay, because the vision is clear. If the president of China make a pronouncement that is law. So in an entity, that's what is required of leadership. Leadership must not send confusing signals. Leadership must be consistent and send one message. And if we do that, I can tell you that there will be dedication to execution. We'll execute. And SANPC will be big. I can tell you. So I'm appealing for leadership. I'm working with a number of state entities in the department. One of them, I asked a few of them one day. I work with through CEOs and asked them, you're this age, have you identified 3 people who may take over from you when you retire? They get shocked when I ask this question. I go to the next one, same question, next one, same question. They don't expect this question. And I say to one entity, very highly skilled, a number of PhDs and masters, I say to them, all of them are specialized skills. You are weak with managerial capacity. Managerial capacity, you see. It was CGS, because it's a good entity. CGS, a good entity, good geologists, geological mapping, tops, everything, tops, doctors in geology, in geometrics, geodat, and geothat, and masters graduates, but you hardly find an MBA graduate in the team. And I said, this absence of MBA graduates in your team reflects lack of commitment on developing managerial capacity. And I said to them, if need be, identify few people, take 2 to SPL, take 2 to VEST, take 2 to KIPS, and they will come back and you develop a coherent management team. It applies to SANPC, okay, as well. You can have all the petroleum engineers. If you don't have a team, this vision that I'm talking about is not going to be as clear as you expect it to be. So, my submission is that let's build SANPC, let's have a board, but there must be collective leadership that is looking forward to run SANPC into new heights. Thank you very much.
All right, so there you have it, the Minerals and Petroleum Resources Minister Gwede Mantashe delivering the keynote address at the official launch of the South African National Petroleum Company. It's essentially a state-owned entity that's going to manage the country's petroleum resources. It's merged the subsidiaries of the Central Energy Fund in PetroSA, iGas, and the Strategic Fuel Fund. And the objective in layman's term is to try and essentially safeguard the country's energy security by reducing reliance on important petroleum and ensuring that there's a better, effective management of these assets. We all know, of course, how the story goes with many SOEs in the country. Sadly, in some instances, they don't operate as efficiently as they should. And that's why I suppose in one way or the other, the minister has spent some time honing in on good leadership, which has a vision and is able, therefore, to steer these companies in the right direction. Hopefully, history doesn't repeat itself in one way or the other.